God, tell me you weren't recording.
Oh, I was recording. I've been recording for like 20 minutes.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
With the Bruce, the Yank, and Captain Socks.
Hello, future people. Welcome to episode 68 of Getting Tabled with your host, Bruce.
Hello, folks. And our intro was a lie today because Major Socks is not here. He's too selfish to spend time with his real friends.
Yeah, he said he had family in town visiting, so he was going to hang out with them. Lame-o.
Spends all of this money to move interstate to get away from him, and now he reckons he wants to spend time with them. I mean, what's going on there?
Right?
Oh, it's also worth noting that Major Socks actually called himself Captain Socks recently. So I think we can demote him officially now.
Whoa. Whoa.
I have video evidence too.
Wow. Wow, he did it. Wow.
He did it, yep.
Yeah.
When he was recording our little secret project for next fortnight. Which we might actually tell people what it's going to be at the end of this episode. It might be a good idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, you're going to have to watch the whole thing to find out what's going on next fortnight now.
Right. You have to pay attention.
Thank you to those that support us. Join us on our YouTube channel as well. We've got a lot of content coming out every week. So, subscribe. We would like to get to 1,000 subscribers before our next birthday in August. Sorry, not August. April. It starts with A. Why are we trying to get that many viewers very quickly? Because as Chris Van Vliet would say, vague goals get vague results. So we're going for the big goals. See how close we can get.
I'd also like to, see that happen before, I catch COVID again and
Fun that.
Yeah, for those who watched the video episode, if you noticed last episode, I seemed to be hacking and coughing a little bit. Yes, that was the start of my fun little 2 weeks. But I got better.
Eventually. Shall we discuss some newly received information?
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
All right. So,
is it the holidays, Bruce? Because we've got a whole bunch of advent calendar stuff. What the heck?
It seems to be something that happens in December every year. I don't really there must be something that happens in December that people don't seem to forget about. I don't know. It's odd. I will agree.
It
but
would be the celebration of the baby Jesus, would it?
It might have something to do with that. I mean, look. If anything, the celebration of baby Jesus means that you have to push your product even stronger and make sure everybody buys it, because that's the true meaning of Christmas.
Right. Yeah, not. Anyways, Space Marine 2.
Okay, so of all of the news that I was expecting, I wasn't expecting Games Workshop to show up at the Game Awards. And I know, for those that are unaware, I'm in the Video Game Awards. Games Workshop showed up with a trailer for Space Marine 2. I mean, we were all waiting for Breath of the Wild 2. We're all waiting for all of these other things. And we get a sequel that people have been demanding, for 10 years now. Because Space Marine, the original Space Marine is a decade old now. Came up in September 2011. So it's been a decade. A very good game, though. I'm not throwing shade at that. I don't know did you ever play it? I know you're not huge on video games, but...
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. When I was sitting here having to work from home, and I did a little thing, and I opened up a Steam account that I started over a decade ago, and I recently downloaded Total War II Warhammer.
Yeah. Of all of the video games that Games Workshop have been associated with in modern day, I really think it's... that's the only one currently that's one that I get excited for, but I don't play it because Total War is a franchise that I always want to love, but the gameplay mechanics themselves just don't click with me. If if you like that sort of thing, I would actually argue that Total War is a must purchase, especially with number 3 about to come out. It's just not a game that I can click with though. But the reason it's taken so long for us to get another Space Marine is this came out just before THQ went under. And it's kind of one of those things where I think it got killed by association, despite the fact that financially this was actually very successful. But it's kind of one of those things where, well, it's a game that was created by a company that just died. Why would we take it on? Titan are doing it this time. I'm kind of showing the trailer in the background for those that may not have seen it. It does feature the guy from the original game, whose name escapes me right now. This is all pre-rendered stuff. Like, this is not obviously gameplay footage. It does feature some gameplay footage later on, or at least what appears to be gameplay footage. Like, genuinely excited for this. This looks like it's going to be very good. My opinion would be to not pre-order this until we get more information, personally. Just because it's probably a good idea to, be careful. But this is a game that people have been wanting to see for a very long time. I am genuinely excited for this, and I will be purchasing it. It's just a question of what platform I purchase it on. I can't buy it on the Switch, but it doesn't surprise me, because the graphics are probably going to be a little bit too much for the Switch anyway.
I was going to say, unless it's a really good company, companies that make good graphic-intensive games, like here of the last, several years, the Nintendo stuff has not been able to handle that stuff. So,
yes and no. They usually just dull it down a little bit, but that's all right.
Well, yeah. Next on the list, I'm kind of excited about this, even though I don't play the game that much. But this is for the team that I do play when I do play it, and it's a thing that my team lacks. They're doing a dwarf thrower for Blood Bowl.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the dwarves have never had a thrower, have they?
So yeah, the dwarves do not have a thrower. The dwarves have runners, and that is it. They don't even have, as far as like the ability to catch, the dwarves don't even have that really either. So this will be interesting to see, like, because it is a rocket launcher. So the mini is a dwarf with a rocket launcher shooting a football.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to wonder if the rule is like, if you roll this or this, you hit your target and it like impales into them, and they have to pull it out of their arm or whatever, and they don't have to make a hand check or whatever.
Yeah.
Because dwarves don't have a catching ability, so to speak. So it'll be interesting to see how a thrower would work in a team like that. Where their whole purpose is, we're going to run really hard and really fast, and we're just going to knock you down.
Yeah, pretty much. The big thing about, this is a star player, for those that hadn't clicked that already. But so it's not a regular team member. This is someone that you would hire to join.
Yeah, he's going to cost you some gold.
Oh yeah, big time. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is not Blood Bowl stupid. I mean, of course it's Blood Bowl stupid. It's Blood Bowl. Everything is supposed to be stupid. And I'm not calling it stupid as in moronic. As in, it's the fun kind of stupid that you expect from Blood Bowl. That's why you play Blood Bowl. I mean, it's either shooting a football from a rocket launcher. You're not going to get any more stupid than that.
And it's not even just a rocket launcher. It's a dwarven rocket launcher. So,
yeah,
big plumes of smoke and stuff too, and yeah.
Yeah, I quite like. My first reaction for this was kind of like, really? And then the more I look at it, the more I like it. This is going to be a Forge World release, so you will spend 7.5 years removing the flashing. But otherwise, look, if you're a Blood Bowl player, I suspect this is going to be must own.
Yeah,
I will give them props for this. I mean, realistically, it wouldn't be that hard to create one of these yourself.
Um,
I mean, it wouldn't be easy.
if you had an extra dwarf player, and then you had some dwarf fantasy, bits lying around, because the Iron Drakes they essentially walked around with little cannons.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't take much to take a dwarf player and mount a cannon, or repurpose an Iron Drake as this guy too, because Iron Drakes are covered in armor, so
yeah, it would kind of make sense.
Yeah. I will probably get one of these just because, well, it'll fit with the army that I haven't finished painting yet. So
yeah, you're looking at £21, just for the record. Though I think it might be more expensive in the US, just because Forge World is Forge World.
Well, and I look at it this way too, and it's just like any other character. $23.
That's not bad.
No, you're gonna pay $20 to $30 for a special character for any of the Games Workshop IP stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I mean, $50 for the entire team, to get the box, and then $20 for a special character. That's just how it is.
Yep.
Actually, some of the special characters, because they're bigger, because of the type of race they are or anything, those cost more because why? More resin. So
yeah.
I think $30 would still even be a reasonable price for a special character, just because well, look at how much some of their other special characters are. $130, just because it's a Primarch. Ooh.
I mean, before we get into our next story, I kind of want to preface something with a bit of an introduction on this. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, rumors started circulating that a certain army was going to be entirely re-released. With the exception of, something that we'd had recently. Gee, I'm being vague. I wonder why.
And go back a little further. Part of this army is one of the things that we said was absolutely something that Games Workshop had to redo because the model is so old. Yeah. And absolutely had to be.
We put it top of the list, too.
Yeah.
Now, when that rumor started circulating, I made the choice not to cover it because it was just a rumor. I think I might have vaguely mentioned it at one point. But honestly, with the Advent calendar showing up, most of this is Eldar related, and it's not even very well hidden. This is mostly Eldar related.
So
I'm just scrolling through this, and all of this is Eldar stuff.
So even just not even the picture itself, just the little border picture thing.
Yeah, true.
Screams that it's Eldar.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no getting around it. It's like it has the little red gems. It has the Eldar iconography.
Iconography. Yeah. No, you're right.
Did I use the right word?
I believe so. Like even in the ones that's just text, only in defeat will you know victory. Like. All of this is Eldar stuff. Now, I haven't seen a tease of the bloody hand god yet, but that would be really moronic not to do it. Day 8 appears to be something from the new god whose name escapes me right now.
I am just getting to day 7, so day 8. Let's take a look here. If not, that's totally a special character with that plumage.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's definitely hints of... hang on, if I go back... I think it's day 3? Nope. What day was it? Day 7 is definitely striking scorpions. Actually, no. Maybe it's not. That might be the death thingies.
What, warp spiders, maybe, even?
Yeah. But... I'm happy to sit here and say... Look, I don't think I said it on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I just said it on Facebook that the rumour was... I basically said the rumour was full of it. Because it came from a source that was extremely unreliable. It was one of those... And the Warhammer community does this a lot. The Warhammer community does this a lot where if somebody makes up a rumour... And it's something that everybody wants. Everybody jumps on it and starts pretending like it's actually news. And that's how this came across when it was first leaked. In all honesty, with what I'm seeing today, I wouldn't be surprised if that unreliable source, because it was just somebody on Reddit randomly that reckoned that they had a source within Games Workshop, and they listed off all of these things that are being released, and like everything about it was just like, no, look, that's crap, and you know it's crap. And that's basically what I said. It's like, I'd love for it to be true, but clearly this is a source that is making stuff up and wish listing, and you need to stop. Like, there were some fairly serious people that were reporting on this, and I was just like, nah.
So,
because it wasn't one of the reliable sources. But
yeah,
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to be wrong.
I do remember a article we covered a few months ago too on, what Eldar should be. That 3D STL file guy.
Yes. Yep.
And that we were like, ooh, he's probably gonna get shut down. I'm wondering, which he was, yeah. I'm wondering if this didn't have something to do with the speed at which Games Workshop did it.
That wouldn't surprise me. They do most of their stuff like 14 months in advance.
Right. So, I mean, if they're like, no, we already have this designed, this is going to, let's say 2 years from now, the guy tried to do this. Do you think Games Workshop would be as proactive and quick about it? Because, I mean, it was up for like a week and then it was shut down.
When do you reckon we're going to actually see this? I suspect it'll be in the second half of next year.
I would say first quarter of next year.
You reckon that early?
I think so, because typically when they're doing the spoiler stuff, when they're just doing the little kind of like cut image of like the foot of the mall or something like that, we usually see it within 2 to 3 months after that. We're in the holiday season right now, so it wouldn't surprise me. End of first quarter, middle of first quarter, so maybe even beginning of second quarter. Maybe you're right. Maybe second quarter, but right at the beginning, we see new Eldar sculpts.
Yeah,
hit the market.
Well, let's move from one advent calendar into the next, and TT Combat have one of them going as well every year. So this started on the 6th, so that they haven't had as much out this year as what they have previously. Also, they're a smaller company than Games Workshop, so that's fine. Day 6, ironically, kind of starts by talking about, the last days to order before Christmas, which makes sense. Day 6 is the flame that burns underwater. So this is one of the big releases that we've been teased at for a while. And Ursula has never looked better. Like, seriously, this is incredible. Why am I calling her Ursula? I'm not the first person to make that comparison. I mean, it's a lady with tentacles. Of course, you're going to call it Ursula. This is clearly her after she takes Titan's throne, not throne, scepter thingy.
Trident.
That's the word I want. There's also some Night Watch that are, I'm sorry, gorgeous. Lewis, keeping in mind that our conversation recently was private and he doesn't know what I'm talking about, stop releasing things for Carnivale. Just release a couple of things that are ugly that makes me go, I don't want them. Just once. Just for me. Please? As a friend? Just do one release that nobody wants? I can't afford another game.
I was going to say, that's not the Night's Watch because they're not in black.
No, well, that's why it says Night Watch.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong night.
Yes, it is. On day 7, we get some Dropzone stuff, and you'll be very happy with what the first picture is. So it looks like we're getting some armor battle groups being released, like groups of actual tanks and so forth. So the Shaltari comes with a couple of grav tanks. You can also build them into a different version of the grav tank. You get a War Strider, which is the big walkie thingy. And the Alligator. So yeah, it's a couple of decent things. There's a UCM one as well, which has got a couple of drop ships and some tanks and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through these real quick, and I kind of like this. This is like... So...
I can 100% tell you that I'm buying the Scourge one.
So... And this is nothing against how TT Combat does stuff, because, like, you've got your starter boxes for Fleet and Zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, you know, you've got your bigger starter bundle, you know, more predominantly Fleet we've talked about, because holy cow, it's an entire fleet in the box. You put that together and you've got a 1,000-point game ready to go like that. Boom. I think for, you know, the non-initiates, like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Oh, I want this drop, and they have to go find a blister.
Yeah.
Versus, here's a box they can pull off the shelf, and it's done.
And look, in the case of Zone, as someone that I've been slowly buying stuff for it, because quite frankly, it's me, and I have several games going at the same time. But trying to figure out what I needed to buy next was always a really hard thing. And I think this is going to make that a lot easier. Because unless you're in Zone, it kind of gets difficult to know where to go. Which is one of the reasons why we've been covering it with the Game Talks. And this kind of eliminates one of those problems.
And like I said, so let's say your brother, is he into this, you know, the game stuff and everything like this?
No, he's not.
Right. So if he goes into the shop and says, I've got a brother, he plays Scourge. Hey, look, there's a box he can just grab, wrap up, and give to you and say, you know, Merry Christmas. And you've got that stuff in there. To me, it's more than just like ease for us, the nerd playing the game. Boxes like this, I think, also make it easier for the people that know us, that hold us at arm's length to get us something we like.
And I just want to, like, the Resistance one, I still think the Resistance, that ship, that like the plane, I still think is one of the best looking ships in the game.
With the exception of a couple of the things for the Resistance, mainly like the scavenged vehicles, like the buses and stuff like that. Yeah. I think the Resistance has some of the best looking models for Zone, just because they feel more real.
Yep. I actually really like the buses and stuff too, though. But I will acknowledge they are kind of getting old. Well, they're older sculpts, but at the same time, they've been around. I don't know. They were deliberately made to look that way, so.
I get that they're still around because, like, you know, it's the Resistance. They're using what's available. Yep. But if the Resistance can go through and make one of these little flying ship things, why are they still using a bus with rocket launchers on it? Like,
because some of it's old technology and some of it's just making do. It's kind of a little bit of both.
Right, I get that. So, but what I'm getting at here is, like, this stuff here that they got on this Resistance box, it feels more real than the other UCM stuff.
Yeah. For day 8, we've got some... It's kind of an odd release, this one. So these are scenery kits for Carnivale, essentially. They're meant to be for, like, your Venetian dock workers and stuff. But they're boats. Shallow water boats. So these are things that you're going to be finding within the canals and so on and so forth. There's a dhow. There's a sloop. There's a patrician big. Like, these are all really nice looking ships. Apparently there is some larger stuff coming as well.
I was going to say, if you look, there's the galleon.
Yep.
That's not a small ship.
No. The picture down the bottom that you're looking at is on a 3x3 board. So some of these are huge set pieces. So these are clearly a different way to play the game. Like, 'cause playing through the streets of Venice and jumping up into the buildings and diving down and slicing somebody like you would in Assassin's Creed. Yeah, cool, that makes sense, but it works on a ship just as well.
Right.
Like, you take something out of fantasy, like, I'm going to run up the mast and then dive off and slice the guy's head off. Or something. It just works. I'm
So
very interested to see what these end up looking
yeah,
like.
I need a mini to tell me how big these are. The first thing I see, I think when I see these, years ago in the early 2000s, there was a trading card game, and I'm using the quotes there. It was called Pirates of the Spanish Main. I don't know if you remember that or heard of that, Bruce.
No.
So it was essentially a booster pack, like Magic the Gathering, whatever. But it wasn't cardboard; it was plastic card, and you
Oh, okay.
punched out plastic pieces, and you made little ships out of it.
Oh, so this is like the Star Wars one that came out around then. There was a Star Wars one
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It was kind of like that, but it was based off of 1700s naval
I actually
technology
think I
stuff.
prefer the version you're talking about.
It was the first set was really cool because it was you had the French, you had the Spanish, and you had America
Yeah.
and pirates. Of course you had pirates.
Well, that's the
And
only
then
thing
they
anybody
start
cares about.
right, and then of course they started expanding past that, and then it started getting like stuff started breaking. Just like there's too much. Like you couldn't sit down and play a quick game anymore. It was too much. So and of course
It's
it
always
so it
going
killed
to be the
itself.
problem with something like that is that you
Right,
only
yeah.
go so far.
Yeah. So
Brave decision on having MDF for the sails. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with cardboard on that, honestly. But it looks good. It looks much better than I thought that it would.
to take MDF and be able to make a ship terrain out of it, I don't think you can do much better than that.
No, that's my point. It's really, really good. Moving on to day 9. Those watching the video will have accidentally had a bit of a sneak peek because I clicked on it a little early. We've got a new Rumble Slam team coming, and quite frankly, this might be my new favourite team. It looks incredible. So these are fantasy cat people. So they're either Rashar demons or they're... Is it Khajiit from Elder Scrolls? Khajiit have wares if you buy.
Oh, I think so. I'm
Yeah.
not much of an Elder Scrolls guy.
No, neither am I, to be honest.
The
I
first thing that
love
pops
the
in my
look of
mind,
this.
yeah, the first thing that pops into my mind when I look at these cat characters, I don't know why, but Iron Sheik just pops into my head of like, if he had like cat, wrestling people, like this is what they would look like. It would be the Iron Sheik with his cat minions.
I'm surprised you know who the Iron Sheik is.
Dude, come on. I was a kid in the 80s.
Okay, fine. I really, really like this. These are going to be very, very... Like, the painting that they've done on these official ones, especially that cat god genie thing, is outstanding. It's going to be amazing to see what people can do with them.
Yeah, that...
I mean, there's no way I'm going to make... Like, if I buy this, there's no way mine's going to look all rainbowy and stuff like that one does. But I can see people doing some really incredible stuff with this.
I just noticed this. So, kind of the middle part of the cloud, where it's blue and it's got the orange and yellow stuff.
Yeah.
That is straight up a Hubble telescope photo.
Oh, is it? Oh. Well, there you go. And it appears that these guys are coming from a new casino. Because I'm pretty sure that's a casino that we haven't seen before. So, that's good to see. More expansions. And then, moving on one last time to Dropfleet. Yay, Dropfleet. Okay.
We like Dropfleet.
I know we should talk about it more. We don't talk about it enough. Okay, so behind the 5th door, which is door number 10, is Dropfleet, and we're getting some more cutters. So we're getting a second round of cutters because we do have cutters in the game already. The PHR one looks interesting. Very sharp in the front. I personally think the UCM one might be the better looking of them. And the Scourge one honestly kind of looks like it came out in the first set. It just looks like those original frigates but a little bit smaller. The Resistance one is really nice too. Actually, maybe I'm changing my mind. Maybe
I love the look of that Resistance one. It's so unique. Here, I am sending you a link on Messenger in relation to the cats we just looked at. The UCM one, I think, looks really good. I love the fact that it has a very asymmetrical look with it's got one pylon and then like the fork pylon.
Yes.
I think there's so much focus on like, look at the Enterprise. It's asymmetrical. Birds of Prey, asymmetrical.
Yeah.
The Breen, those ships are symmetrical. You get to the Breen ship and it's very asymmetrical, like it's not a mirror. It's space. It doesn't have to be a mirror. You don't need to worry about drag and crap like that.
Yes.
I love the fact that they did that with the UCM. Shaltari, it looks like a almost an amethyst kind of thing. And yeah, you're right that Scourge is very frigate feeling from the first set.
And it's not a bad thing. That's just what it reminds me of.
Do you know what that the Resistance one looks like? At Corellian Corvette.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah. The head of it looks like a hammerhead shark.
That's why I said it's a hammerhead Corellian Corvette.
Yeah. The head of it, definitely. Okay, moving on. War Cradle, giving out their... Well, not giving out. They're releasing their Christmas minis again. And I'm going to very quickly take the blur off my camera so that I can show something. This is one of the things that you can buy.
Krampus Rex.
Yep. I actually won this on a YouTube competition. This was actually painted by Stuart from the studio on camera. You can actually find videos on their official YouTube channel of him painting this actual mini.
Is this the thing you won like a couple years ago and you were freaking out because you're like, oh my god, I actually won something?
Yeah. So that is one of the ones that you see there. So that is, Krampus Rex. I think this is actually the one from the photo. I think. No, it's not. No, it's not the one from the photo. But we have some new... The one from Mythos is probably my favourite, which is the Jack Frost looking guy.
Which one? The Morozko or what?
Morozko. Apparently the actual character, these are both the same person, and it's like a good side and an evil side. So, like, the good side is giving gifts out to the kids, and the evil side is beating people over the head with that thing and killing them.
It's very reminiscent of the Jack Frost from the Guardians movie.
That's exactly what comes across in my head, too.
Yeah.
I
like Madre Navidad.
Yeah, that's, yep. The mechanical reindeer is just awesome. And I love the fact that she has exploding puddings. That's just kind of fun. And then finally, we have Kyle the red and white. Which is totally not Santa Claus. But if you look, this is actually a model that came out a year or two ago. If you look, the Totally Not Santa Claus is totally not holding a dystopian warship.
It's totally not.
This is obviously before most of it was resculpted. So these are things that you can only buy around Christmas time, like a lot of companies do. These are just the more fun ones that I wanted to show off.
Kyle, the red and the white, right?
Yep.
His little dog there has a single antler on his head like the Grinch's dog had on his head.
I didn't even know that. That's a good point. It is too.
And look at that. It's even like it's just strapped onto his head too.
It's so good. These are all minis that you can use instead of, like, they're alternate sculpts, basically. So they're not actual characters in the world. Well, they are characters in the world, but their rules are instead of somebody else. So the dog is instead of a canine attack dog. And Kyle the red and white is instead of Kyle the black. Moving on. We haven't spoken about weird in a little while. And I'm going to explain why in Hobby Time. But I thought it was time to have a look to see what they're doing. So, they've had a new release recently, which is Malifaux Burns, which is an expansion on the world and has kind of given new versions to all of the current masters. But we're going to skip past all of that and go down to December, because why would you talk about stuff that was released months and months ago? We've got some new stat cards coming for the Sonya Crid. It actually contains a couple of minis. One that's 75mm and a version of it that's in scale with the game itself. So that's interesting. I've never actually seen them do like a proper bust type thing, although that's a full mini, but my favourite has to be the Puppet Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's a if that's not a tongue twister. Yeah,
it's
while you were talking about
versions of the riders. I mean, sorry, but there's nothing more incredible than that.
Yeah, I was looking at those while you talked about the other thing, and I pretty much didn't pay attention to you at all because I was looking at the puppets.
Yeah. So the previous one, it's got two versions of the same character, one in 32mm scale, the other one is 75mm scale. So you've actually got like a big version.
Right. I'm back on the puppets. I think they look great. They have a very Sackboy feel to them.
Yeah, very much so.
And I think they look great because, you know, with the exception of a certain movie, the horsemen are like typically like scary looking individuals.
Yeah.
You know, a fairly recent movie, let's be honest, the horsemen weren't that scary because it was kind of a poorly done movie. These guys, they're great because it's like, oh, they're just little puppets. What are puppets gonna do? Well, they're gonna murder you. You're going to die.
Yeah. For those that are not familiar with Malifaux, it's very much Victorian horror-esque. So it's very Cthulhu. It's very twisted nursery rhymes, and I do mean twisted nursery rhymes. There's an homage to Alice Cooper in one of the limited edition sets that you can buy. Like, literally, the guy is called Mr. Cooper. It's not a regular character. He's a alternate for one of the others. Like, everything about this is very, very screwed up in a very good way.
I was going to say they should do it in a 2-pack, and there's Mr. Cooper and Mr. Crawley.
These last two down the bottom, so a lot of the latest releases they've been doing lately have the new versions of the masters that they've been releasing. So we've got Petita Ortega, which is a Neverborn Hunter. She's part of the guild. We've got Sly Six Shots, which is from... Actually, I don't know who he's from. And we've got Ophelia LaCroix, which is for the Gremlins. Or the Bayou, if you want to talk it that way. Sly Six Shots must be guild as well. It has to be. I'm not familiar with that character. I do apologise. I've been out of the game for a little while. And then in the Twisted Tail, you've got Nellie Cochrane. I'm pretty sure she's from the guild. August Hart, I think he's a resurrectionist, which is the Ravens. And that first one is definitely from... I forget what the other one's called. The one with the flower, whatever they are. because it's Jackdaw, and that's where he comes from. I like what they've released new versions of rules so that these guys can kind of work in a different way, which is nice. The only criticism that I have with the way that they're doing these releases, personally, I wish that they were just doing them as characters rather than these box sets. Because if I was going to come in here, and I'm just going to take the example of the one that I would, in theory, have to buy, because I have Gremlins, so I would like to buy Ophelia LaCroix, but I've got to buy a box that has 2 other masters in it that I'm never going to use, and I have no interest in using. Personally, I mean, I know that there are people out there that buy everything. If I did that for every game that I play, I would be bankrupt.
I was going to say destitute and homeless.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's the only... I mean, personally, I wouldn't even mind paying... buying the 3 in the box set obviously is going to be better value. I'd be quite happy to pay a little extra to buy these in separate boxes at some point.
Like $20 a mini kind of thing?
In US dollars, maybe, but that's just my... I'm not hating on Weird. I love Weird stuff. If you haven't built Weird minis and you would like a challenge, go and have a look at the Malifaux website and pick something that you like the look of. I can guarantee you one thing. I can guarantee you 2 things. Number 1, it's going to be one of the more intricate and difficult kits that you've ever built. And number 2, providing that you follow the instructions and do it, like the instructions are on the website, by the time you get to the end of it, it's going to feel like one of the most rewarding experiences you've had. They are so gorgeous. Everything from this game is a character. So it's not like one of these things where, oh great, I'm painting my 120th Space Marine. Everybody is a character, so everybody gives you a reason to kind of feel like you want to paint it and do it justice.
Right.
It's what I kind of like about these skirmish scale games as opposed to the mass battle.
No, for sure. There's a reason why there's the appeal of, the kill team and the regiments of renown kind of stuff, where it's like you focus on tops 12 minis. I think that's why you see such a level of detail, like for an Infinity Army, that you just don't see in like a 30k or 40k or an Age of Sigmar army.
Yep. For those that are wondering why I didn't make that comment about different factions with the Puppet Apocalypse box set, this is an alternate version of those, and realistically, it's a box set that you would want together because you're painting this for fun. You can 100% just use them as alternate versions of those characters, but it makes sense why these are together. And there is actually a way that you can use them all in one force. I forget what the character's name is, but there is a master that lets you take any rider.
It's not the Puppet Master, is it?
No. Speaking of the Puppet Master, by chance, if anybody from Weird Games comes across this, I'm still bitter and angry and upset that you killed Collodi. I want Collodi back. Officially. Like, properly. Not this Death Man's Hand thing. I want him back properly. And I'm going to moan and complain about it forever. Not really. He was a character that died, and he was one of my favourite characters. Moving on. Yes.
Frostgrave Official Terrain Series.
Yes. So this is coming back. We have seen this before. It was on a Kickstarter. And it's finally coming back with some new pieces, I will add. I'm kind of going to skim through a couple. If there's any particular ones you want to have a look at, let me know so I can open them. But
the only thing I'm really kind of looking at in depth right now is the Merchant House, just because everything else just looks like kind of a scatter terrain except for the Merchant House, which it's not.
Everything in Frostgrave is going to be ruins because it's an old city that kind of was destroyed many, many years ago.
Sure. I get that. It's just, derelict warehouse. You've got stacks of crates and stuff like that. Scatter terrain. Like, I can get behind that, but then there's also like, you know, the Living Museum. You know, okay,
Yeah.
that's more of a ruined building. That's something more substantial. So,
I love the fact that the Merchant House, like, you can actually play on the inside of it and everything as well.
which that was, you know, like, I love that more and more companies are doing this, where it's a house and you can take it apart and like there are different levels to it.
Yeah.
I think the first one I remember seeing that was like that. That was like, oh, that's really cool. Was the lake cabin from Don't Look Back.
Yeah.
And ever since that, you know, it's just been seeing more and more of it. I mean, TT Combat's doing it. This one's doing it.
The first company I know of that was doing stuff like that was Foreground. I'm not saying that they were the first to do it, but they were the first ones I knew of that did it.
I think it's a great thing to do because
I agree.
you put this merchant house on the table. Yes, it's a piece of terrain, and all the space inside of it is unusable.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that they've made it to where it is usable, technically.
Now, it is worth probably noting that not all games have rules for playing on the inside of buildings. And even like those that do, sometimes those rules don't work very well. But it's still wasted space otherwise. And there's nothing that says that you have to only use it for the game it was designed for. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
both of the buildings we've looked at. I'm looking at the bell tower at the moment, which is another one I love. This is actually built around a scenario. Like, specifically, like, there's actually a scenario that uses this. Plus, it's gorgeous. But who's to say that I couldn't just take that and put them in the middle of Wild West Exodus? I mean, remove the snow, and it's just a tower with a bell in it.
Hey, Bruce, there's snow in the Wild West. My town's proof of
parts
that.
of the years.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
The cemetery, I really like the cemetery. Yes, scatter terrain. I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but it is a really nice looking cemetery. Cemeteries are kind of easy, but I do kind of like what they've done with this.
yeah, don't get me wrong. This is great looking stuff, and you know, like any, you know, good looking minis, good looking terrain. It just seems like we're almost getting like you know, there's just so many games out there. It's starting to happen with terrain now. You know, I think, you know, it all looks good, and we're the market's getting flooded, I think. And I'm not saying anything, you know, bad about this. I'm just saying that, you know, it's not the market it used to be.
Yeah. No, I can see where you're coming from.
And for like €20 for scatter terrain, like, you know, the price of 3D printers,
Well,
you know,
that's
all
big,
the other
yeah.
companies out there, you know, like take the white boxes, for example, from TT Combat. You get some scatter terrain with like this full terrain kit.
Yeah, and it was just £75.
You're getting like, you know, half a dozen buildings and then some scatter terrain for £75 versus, you know, €20 you're getting a thing of scatter terrain. You know, where's your other, you know, €50 of value buildings? And you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that I think we're getting to the point of like some companies are making better choices. Not knowing the conversion off the top of my head, I don't know if this is worth those prices.
Well,
Like the Derelict Warehouse, €10 sold, €20, I don't know.
yeah. So I looked up the price for the Silent Tower, which is €69 and 99 pence. Works out to be the better part of £60. Pounds
Okay.
sterling. So if you bought that and another smaller building, you have the price of the white boxes.
Which is
75.
3 times the terrain.
Yeah. Now, in saying that, they're also limited edition stuff that's only for a short time. I mean, that's being sold the way that it is as a deal that they're not going to do very often. Normally, it would be more expensive than that, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's entirely a fair comparison, but I do know what you're saying. I don't. Price-wise, I think it's probably more along the norm. I mean, there's certainly nothing amongst this that's a bargain or a steal. It's all fairly, like, fair, normal prices that you would expect. But the question of whether this is something that you want to buy is, like, the only benefit that they have is that all of this is designed specifically for scenarios in the game. But in saying that,
Right.
the game was specifically designed so that you could use anything you want. Frostgrave is not a game where you have to have a specific aesthetic. So that's going to hurt a little bit. I just thought it was interesting to look at. I mean, some of this stuff is really nice. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the best terrain that I've ever seen, and I'm not throwing shade on it. I actually do like what I'm looking at. But
No, I think it looks great. I think the one dude we looked at last episode or the episode before where he had all the feudal Japan stuff.
oh yeah.
Like that was something to write home about. This stuff, it's good looking stuff. It looks like a lot of the other stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's
So-
fairly generic looking, which would be by design. But yeah, I have to say I don't like that. The only one that I don't like is the stepped pyramid. Just personally, I'm not a fan of that one.
That's kind of what's the word? I think lame, phoned in, unimaginative. It's
I get, yes, it's a stepped pyramid, and nobody really does stepped pyramids, but it doesn't feel like a stepped pyramid to me. It just feels like a building.
it looks like 3 boxes stacked.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if you look at a traditional stepped pyramid in South and Central America,
Yeah.
where stepped pyramids are known, they have several steps, like 10 plus. Those are the ones you see typically. This is the top of a stepped pyramid.
Yeah,
So-
I would agree with you on that. Now, in saying that, I don't know what the scenario says. It's possible that it's been designed that way because the scenario told you to, but
Right.
I don't know. Okay, moving on to a game that you pointed out. Do you want to talk about this?
Well, I was just kind of mentioning it as like an off topic of I had backed it. The name of it just Lords of Ragnarok. Okay, you have my attention. Norse themed stuff.
Yeah.
There's another game I'm waiting on that's Norse themed. The concept of so first of all, it's also by Awaken Realms.
Which is the people that did Nemesis, for those that are wondering.
Yeah, they did Nemesis, Nemesis Lockdown. I mean, this is not, this is a known, game company that has done some good stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of, lack of better words, I blind backed it. Kind of looking at it, it's kind of like an Ankh, where you're trying to control, if you scroll down to where it says core pledge, you can kind of see the stuff, the colored stuff, that's your army that you're using. You can summon gods, and then you can build like monuments to your god, and that, gives you power and stuff like that. Yeah. The concept of the game, like it seems like it's a good like territory capture board game that you can play with your friends. Mm-hmm. That's Norse themed. The other thing that I liked, and this is, on par with the Awaken Realms aesthetic, is it's got like some of the stuff has a what's the word, like a science fiction-y, like if you look at I don't know if there's a good picture of one of the ships, the sail is like, it's not cloth, it's like that hex
like
grid,
this dragon scale or something.
yeah, so it's got a very it's not just like Norse themed, it's like Asgardian Norse themed, where it's like
But even
yeah, they still use
it's a sci-fi version of Norse stuff, but it doesn't really feel like it's taken out of Marvel's comics either, which is that was the first people I know of that ever did that. Um, I really, I hadn't looked at this very closely. I added it to the list because I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I want to talk about this. But this looks really good.
Yeah. So, and it's just, the fact that, Awakened Realms, they have put out good stuff. I didn't look too much into this other than just the fact of, like I said, it's Norse themed. I like Norse themed stuff, it's just, and I thought it was really, like, so if you scroll down here, you got, gods, raise imposing monuments. They show the Thor monument. You have the base, you have, the bottom, the legs, and like you build the monument as you're playing the game. It's,
Yeah. I really like what they're doing with this.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, here,
they've
yeah.
met all of their stretch goals, or at least the ones that they've shown so far. Like they've unlocked
It's
34 of 34.
It's fun, and I think you can late pledge. So
No, the actual funding is still going. It's just that it's finalized. You can still pledge on this, though, yes.
So, and I think total, and it's not. Where do they have
maybe
it
you're
all?
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. No, you might. So this is the only issue I have with the GameFound website. Is it gets really, really hard to know when things are still open and when they're not.
Yeah.
I had the same problem with the other He-Man game, the one that I chose not to back. So GameFound is essentially Kickstarter, but it's been designed specifically for gaming. And I mean our gaming. The first time I came across it, ironically, it was being used as a pledge manager, but they've kind of expanded to become an alternative to Kickstarter. And from what I understand, I believe they're actually doing a better deal for the companies. But I don't know.
So, and then looking at this, I want to say like the full all-in, I think is like €260, which
is a steal.
And the concept of how much these board games cost, especially when they are so miniature heavy, that's not a terrible price.
No, it's not at all.
I mean the core, just getting the game itself, €100, and that includes the stretch goals if you can get in on the funding part of it, which I mean, so that's a really good deal.
For you, that's the better part of $300.
Yeah. What the all in?
Yeah, the all in. For me, it's $420.
Which looks like sleeves, a game mat, 1, 2, 3, 4,
it's a lot
5 boxes of game stuff.
There's
I mean, just 5 boxes
as well.
Yeah, but I mean, just think of it that way, and you've got 5 boxes of game stuff, Bruce, right? For 400, of your dollars.
Yeah.
That's not bad when you figure that some of these games are $100 a pop, and then like $50 to $70 for an expansion box.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of interested in that. I only found out about this because I was checking on a pledge for another game that is way behind schedule, and this popped up, and I was like, "Huh!" And I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Oh, hey, that's these people." And so, yeah.
Moving on, our last story of the day is Borderlands, and people are going, "Oh, great! It's another video game board game." This one actually looks like it's all right, though, to be honest. This is being done in association with Gearbox. It's being done by Monster Fight Club, that we have covered before. They did some 3D printable city terrain about 12 months ago or so. So this is based directly on the game. It's kind of like an arena fighting game. Yes, it's another one of them. But in the case of Borderlands, it probably makes the most sense to go in that direction. I mean, let's be fair. If you're talking about Borderlands, it's either going to be that or it's going to be a dungeon crawler. In an arena combat game, probably, I don't know, feels more exciting to me, personally. So, heavily miniatures based, and quite nice, gorgeous looking sculpts, honestly. It's all hex grid, and like there's some really nice looking stuff here.
I'm sorry, I just stopped on the ravenous waddle gobbler, and I was just like, I just had to stop, look at that, and process WTF. So I'm gonna tell you this, Bruce. I only know of Borderlands, the fact that the name and it's a video game. I have never actually played it.
That's okay. So
I know next to nothing about it, and then I scroll past a giant mutant chicken with 3 mutant chicken minions.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what in the hell?
Yeah, there's a lot of humor like that in the game, actually. I suspect that you would really get into it as a video game. I actually think you would really. It's first-person shooter.
Don't like those.
Okay, well, you won't get into this thing. It is very funny though. Okay. Miniatures-wise, really nice. And people that are into the game will recognize some of these monsters that George has just pointed out.
So I'm looking at this, and I recognize the from the commercials and stuff like that. The humanoid characters and everything, which they have a very strong Mad Max feel to them.
Very much so. Yep.
What the other thing? Oh, the Robot Revolution. There's a robot that those remind me of, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But the thing I like about this is the fact that there's actual monster type things to fight against. Yeah. It looks like that was the one thing I thought was missing from the Mad Max franchise. Was like there's no really weird except for the really big dude with the small dude riding his shoulders. There was no like really weird monstery humanoid things. It was just all like it's just guys in biker leather and heavily modified vehicles trying to kill each other. I think that franchise needed like ogres or something like that, like not like like 30 ogres running around, but like a couple here and there of like there's ogres and trolls and crap.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from on that thing. The big thing I would say on this, Borderlands has that very strong cell shaded look, which on a miniature is really hard to pull off properly. I'm not telling you not to paint them that way, but just understand that it's something that's going to take a lot of practice, and it's something I was doing recently, and I did it with my Marvel stuff as well. It's a completely different way of painting, and it takes a little bit to get used to. You will either fall in love with it and start doing it to everything, or you'll find it very frustrating and just paint them normally. But the problem with this game is that because that's the way it's based, if you don't paint them that way, it's going to look really weird.
Yeah, I
can't really help you on that side of things. I can recommend a couple of people to go and check out if you've backed this. Do a Google search for Epic Duck Studios and just have a look at anything that he's done. He shows you tutorials on how to paint in his style, and it's exactly what you want for this. I will give credit to my housemate Steve for pointing this out to me. This is not something that I will back, but I can understand exactly why this is very popular. I already have a game of borders around this, so I don't really need another one.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking at the the cell shading and the painting stuff, it's almost like if you're new to hobby and stuff like that, it would almost be easier to learn to cell shade paint than for people like us who've been painting for the better part of a couple decades.
Yeah.
Because it's like you almost have to unlearn how to paint to do some of this painting.
Yeah. It's to the point where with my next Bot Wars stuff, I'm not painting in that style. I'm just going to paint them normally because I actually find it very frustrating. While George is distracted, I am going to move on to aiming for the indie.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
Alright. George, How annoying is it that all of your terrain takes up so much space?
I don't know, because I have these wonderful little Tupperware bins that hold my terrain. So,
That's
as
all
Mel
well.
pointed out when we interviewed him, make sure you can store it too. And I have a storage solution for my terrain.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't come across anything that's too big for my Tupperware bins.
Well, this terrain is folding. So go to folding terrain. Go to American buildings.
Okay, hold on. Folding terrain. I don't see.
Wait, why is it not?
There it is. I see it. American buildings. Got it.
And it's being annoying and it's not showing me pictures. That's really annoying. Okay, here we go. I found another one. Folding terrain, and you want to go to brick buildings.
Brick buildings. Okay, I see a... Yes.
Basically what these will do is these will fold down flat. So that, yes, you could store them in bins, but they take up this much room, not this much. All of these buildings will fold down flat. I don't understand why I can't find pictures of them folded. That's really annoying. Like, really annoying. They've updated their website and they've removed something that makes the reason why I was showing these off the actual... That makes it really frustrating.
Well, who?
Okay, well, stuff it. Let's move on and let's cut this bit out of the episode entirely because I'm not going to waste my time on it.
Depending on what scale this stuff is, too,
You can you can actually get this in multiple scales.
I was going to say, some of the vehicles and stuff, just looking at these real quick, if you're into it, you could use it for Flames of War as, like, some alternate sculpt stuff.
Or, bolt action.
I don't know. Yeah, it's...
I don't quite understand what's happened on their website because there was pictures of everything when they're folded up. But basically, everything is designed so that they flat pack. Not pull apart, like they are designed to fold into themselves. And then basically the roofs and everything keep them solid. But...
Now that you actually kind of describe, I see how it works. So I'm looking at the Americana tenement.
Yep.
And I kind of see, like, you would pull the roof off, and then everything else would just kind of fold into place flat.
Yep. And so that brickwork where it's kind of like this will end up like that when it's flat.
That is kind of cool. I'm looking at the price here. And it is a cool idea. I've seen some other stuff. It's not. This looks like it's MDF, which that's way more. The stuff I've seen has been cardstock.
Yes, yeah, it is more common in the cardstock stuff.
So, and the stuff I've seen where it's like you literally have a box about the size of. I'll just pull this out real quick to give you a guesstimate size of the box. So a box about like this big, right? Standard board game size, right? And it has like 4 or 6 sheets you pull out that you unfold, and it makes a 4x6 terrain. And it all unfolds cardstock.
Okay, George, open up the link that I just sent to you on Messenger.
Yes, I am opening up the... And actually, the stuff I was just talking about, we've talked about on another episode. It was called Upzone on Kickstarter.
Yep. So, the link that I've just sent you is their Facebook page. I'm looking at a picture on Foreground because Foreground actually became associated with these guys recently as well. And in the first article, they are showing you their large brick factory.
Yeah,
And
okay,
you
I'm
can
seeing.
see how small it goes when you fold it up.
Well, and how it folds up too. So,
Yeah,
so that's pretty clever for MDF.
yeah. Keeping in mind that this is all pre-colored as well.
Oh, so you get it. You don't have to. It comes assembled and painted then, huh?
Yep. Well, not assembled. It comes painted.
Oh, it comes painted.
I mean, you can easily add more stuff to it if you want more detail. But
Yeah, I'm just. I don't know. I'm trying to gauge the prices here because I'm looking at that like.
the issue that these guys have on a pricing standpoint is the need, the problem that they're fixing is a problem that some people won't actually see as a problem. I mean, I really like the idea of this because it solves a problem that I can see. But at the same time, if you don't have a storage problem, or you only play one type of game, then what does it matter? Because you only need one set of terrain. If all you play is 40k, or all you play is Dropfleet, which doesn't use a lot of terrain anyway, then all you need is that one set of terrain and you'll never use anything else. It's the people like me that are playing 3 or 4 different types of games that want themed terrain around it that have this issue. But all of this is also very specifically around real world stuff.
And another thing too that I don't have the issue with this because I have a normal size sedan car, or I have a full size American pickup truck, which, let's be honest, I can carry around life size terrain and not tabletop size terrain. So for me, transporting stuff is not an issue either. Your case, your primary mode of transportation is a motorbike.
Yep.
So you have a mode of transportation. There are some people, even in the States, depending on like what kind of city you live in, like people who live in New York City, versus where I live, they rely on public transportation.
Yeah.
So having something that can fold up and go into a backpack and stuff like that, I can see where this is a problem solving for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you are, where you live, and how you get around.
Yeah.
For me, this is not something I want or need. It's not a concern for me.
No,
for you, I could see where this could fill a need that you have. For the guy who only takes the tubes or a subway or wherever you call it, wherever you live, and you have to be able to fit everything in a backpack, I can totally see where this would solve a lot of problems for you.
It's also worth remembering that the reason that I started this aiming for the indie thing wasn't to look at stuff specifically that excited us. It was stuff that you wouldn't necessarily find if you didn't know about it, that someone from the audience may go, oh, actually, that's something I need.
Yeah, the issue
have terrain. I don't need terrain.
Yeah. The issue I'm running into is it comes pre-painted, but it doesn't come pre-assembled.
But making it pre-assembled is only going to cause another problem. It's all going to get broken in transport.
Yeah, well, it's like, if you're going to sell it, why sell it pre-painted? I mean, if it already comes out in flap sheets,
by having it pre-painted, it removes one of those problems.
Yeah. What?
If you was to sell this as pre-assembled, you've just got to think about how much time that's going to cost. You're doubling, if not tripling or quadrupling the price.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair.
You would actually take yourself and nobody would be. Some people would be willing to pay that. I would suspect it's a very small amount of people, though.
Yeah,
Here's the thing that I think you're not thinking of, though. So this is all foldable.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're not gluing most of this. Which means that you're not... the only stuff you're going to have to wait to dry is the multiple layered walls before you put it all together.
Yeah.
And then it's
It is a cool idea.
rod, bang, bang,
Yeah.
rod. Like, most of this will build fairly quickly-ish. I mean, there is an ish there, but...
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at some of the other stuff. Like, so, I guess maybe the ones I'm having the biggest issue with are the brick buildings. That red. Like the...
It's a very specific aesthetic, yeah. Like I said, like
the timber frame building, I'm totally okay with that because that's how those buildings look.
Yeah. If I was to buy the brick ones myself, I would want to dirty them up a little bit. Personally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
the
want
other
them to
one,
look fresh like this. But that's okay, I can do that. Like, this just means that you can build it and it will look like it's ready if that's what you want it to do. It doesn't mean that you can't add stuff to it.
Yeah.
Or hell, you could repaint the entire thing if you wanted to.
Yeah, I do like the stone ones, though. I will say, I do like the stone ones. I think those look really great. Like...
Yes. Yeah, that's probably my favorite of the set, actually.
So... cool idea, cool concept. It definitely solves a problem for certain people.
Yes.
So...
But that's the thing. It's the certain people.
Yeah. I think this is probably one of the... And I'm not knocking this, but I think this is probably one of the most unexciting indies I've looked at. All the other stuff you've tracked down has been some really cool stuff. This is like...
Well, that's all right.
But it is cool. The fact that they designed it to fold, I think, is a neat idea.
They do have a whole range of miniatures as well, which is what George kind of got excited about, but then I didn't talk about it. I just want to quickly say, I like the fact that there's some Hungarian, there's Belgian, there's China. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you just wouldn't expect to find. So they clearly are aiming for a very specific aesthetic, which is essentially Europe World War. And with the exception of the fantasy ruins, everything else fits into that aesthetic as well. He's very clearly going after a specific market, which is not us. We don't really play historicals. And I think that's...
I don't know. You can even say that fantasy stuff... That fantasy stuff still looks like the timber frame stuff, which you could definitely find in an old French village. I mean, even that still, fits in.
Apart from that it's got that weird, the top is bigger than the bottom thing, which you wouldn't get in the world. Shall we talk about some hobby?
Some hobby?
Yes.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
All right, George. What have you been up to?
Sleeping.
Given that you've had no work for the last 2 weeks.
No. I do IT, so I've been working the last 2 weeks. I've been working right here for the last 2 weeks.
So they wouldn't ever let you have time off?
I took 2 days off to sleep. After the fact that, when I could sit upright for more than 3 hours at a time without getting nauseous or wanting to just, fall asleep, I sat here at my desk and I, worked on systems remotely like I do at the office.
Fair enough. So it's not like you still worked, but obviously you wasn't going to be as productive as you normally would have been because you're fighting energy levels. So aside the fact that, I had COVID and I was sick and I was sleepy, and here's the worst part. I was nauseous most of the time. Yeah.
But then I would get super, super, super hungry. And so then I would go eat. And I would take a bite of something. And then I would get immediately so nauseous I felt like I was going to vomit from that one bite of food. But my body is still saying, no, you're starving, you have to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not as, an analogy of what marriage is like, I don't know what else is. You do one thing, and no, they're still unhappy, but they want you to do this one thing, and you do that, and they're still unhappy. And it's like,
ladies and gentlemen, evidence that George is not a bitter person.
No, actually, in reality, I feel like I'm more productive when I'm at home because
I can understand that. I was more talking about energy levels than being at home itself.
Yeah, no, yeah, so in my mass productiveness, I sat here at my computer with all the stuff here in the background and didn't do much with it really because one, I didn't have the I guess the fortitude to sit down and focus on painting and working on stuff. Like,
And the focus that you did have, you kind of felt like you had to put into work.
yeah, and then doing that and focusing like that, I was just exhausted. So
No, that's fair.
that being said, I don't want to know what that's like without a vaccine in your system.
There, that is, yeah.
I was out for a solid 2.5 days. All the stuff back when for like people out for weeks on end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll. So I did get to Warhammer 2 Total War, yeah, or Total War 2 Warhammer. I did get that. I messed around with that some. Again, it's a video game. It's cool. It's a way to entertain yourself. It's not how I want to be entertained, though. It's
It is. That's a game that Steve, my housemate's been playing for quite a while, and he loves that game. That, like I said earlier, that's a game I really want to get into, but I can't because it's not the sort of game that I get into.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it because it's not like you have to sit there and put hours in to get really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that being said, I did get a couple games shipped to me recently, and these are more of a fun, quick pickup game kind of games. One of them is called Dragonwood, which I can't really describe it. The other one is called Trash Panda.
Okay.
And so Trash Panda is cool. It's a deck of cards. You're trying to hoard resources, and you roll a d6, and whatever the result is, you can move the token on some cards to keep those as resources. There's one type for every side of the dice. So if you roll 2 twos, they're not twos, it's all custom, but if you roll 2 twos in a row, well, you've just botched and you've lost all your resources. So it's a probability of, I rolled a 1, I rolled a 3, there's a 2, 4, 5, and 6. Do I keep going or do I hoard my resources? So, quick little fun pickup game stuff that, neither one of us, because as soon as I got better, guess what happened to Casey?
Well, I'm surprised it took her that long.
So, not much
Normally
going in the way.
Normally it goes through the house faster than that.
Yeah, it was about a week in between us.
That surprises me.
Keeping
in mind that I work in the industry where I would know that.
Right. Well, I do, hospital support too. Here's the other odd thing too. All the people we were around for Thanksgiving because we celebrate that holiday in America. Yeah, no one else has come down with it either. So, but we were around them.
Interesting. Okay. Got lucky.
What have you done since you haven't, been sick?
Honestly, a lot of what I've been doing has either been filming for us or preparing for gaming in 2022. So there's a few goals I've got for next year. We already know what a couple of those are, because I recently brought into a game that I haven't told any of you what it is. Some of the audience will know if they've come from a certain group. Don't tell him. And, yeah. There's a game that I brought into recently. I mentioned this on the last episode as well. I haven't told you what it is. But I've also been kind of... One of the things I've been wanting to do for a couple of years now is I'd like to return to Malifaux. Which is why I said I want to start covering... The reason I haven't been covering weird stuff as much as we used to is because the fact that I couldn't play it was really starting to get to me. Because that's... As a gamer, Malifaux at one point was the only game I played. And we're talking about... the big problem with the industry that I work in when you're working shift work is that you don't get time to do other things. So one of the reasons why my hobby became the only part of the hobby that I had was because I couldn't play. That's why it took me 2 years to get a game of Bushido in. Seriously.
Well, and the fact that
for a while. It's one of the reasons why mentally I was struggling for more so than our audience realizes. I know that you knew that I was struggling, but the audience would never have been in on that.
Yeah, it also didn't help too that for a good part of last year,
that too, yeah.
we were essentially prohibited from gathering in groups to play our games.
Yeah, that is.
So,
but COVID didn't make that harder. I mean, it did make it harder, but it didn't. It just kind of meant that the only free time that I had also couldn't then be, which I put into the podcast. So it actually worked out for us.
yeah.
So one of my goals for 2022 is that I'm returning to Malifaux. I have been preparing to actually do that and try to figure out what it is that I need to actually get. In theory, I still have my old Fate decks in boxes somewhere. I did find one of them, and it's been damaged to the point of, I think you could probably argue that the cards are marked, which obviously means that I'm not going to be using it. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to buy a new Fate deck. Oh, what a shame. I'll have to get one of the pretty ones that are slightly bigger and have really pretty art on them. That's really going to be painful for me.
Are they standard size sleeves that you could just use
They could, but I'm using an excuse to buy a new Fate deck.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. You can buy them as a normal size, and you can buy them as a tarot card size. The only reason I've been holding off on purchase is because, well, I don't need it yet. And I kind of like the idea of the tarot card one because the artwork is a little bigger. But I just don't know how well I'd go with shuffling them because they're slightly larger. I've never really held tarot cards, so I don't know.
In my opinion, having done a game store and had multiple kids, children, teenagers come in with Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever, shuffling cards is shuffling cards once you figure out how to hold them to shuffle them.
Yeah.
To me, not knowing anything about that game other than what you have, provided us to look and talk about and everything, I think having the tarot card size deck is one more fitting.
Yes,
and,
I believe that's why they made the change. You can still buy a standard card one for the people that didn't want them, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for the tarot card.
Two, there's so much visual in these games too that if you've got a larger card that you can do bigger or better artwork on.
Yep.
I mean, what's the price difference between the two decks?
Oh no, they're pretty much sold for the same price. Ish. Yeah, I know. The decision had nothing to do with that. It was all a matter of which one do I want to go into. So
I would do the tarot card.
I suspect that's the way I'm going to end up going. So, as part of that, I've kind of been going, okay, so how am I going to do this podcast-wise? I'm probably going to semi-do with Malifaux what I did with Conquest, but it will be from I return to the game. So I'm kind of thinking, I pull out my original models, and I kind of do a showcase of what I have, the kind of state that they're in, and try to figure out what I have and so forth. I have a new box of Malifaux that I purchased and was mentioned in the podcast 6 to 12 months ago. They were like icy troll looking things. And that's probably going to be the master that I start with, because it means that I can start fresh. I'm probably going to stick with the same basing theme that I had on my Neverborn to begin with, which was kind of like it was like an ocean of blood with brickwork travelling through it. It was all kind of really twisted and messed up because it was Malifaux, and of course it was. I did kind of toss up whether I wanted to change my basing scheme and go with something completely different, but I think I'm just going to stick with what I did originally because it was disturbing, and as much as I'm kind of tempted to do something different, I had a picture in my head of, you can get coloured sand, and I was kind of thinking if I had like black and purple, then I could put the purple on the inside and make it look like it was glowing up on the rocks that I base things on. And I thought, oh, that'll look really twisted, and then maybe the top of it can be like, black and white checkers like in the inside of a sanatorium or something. And then I sat there and realised, oh wait, no, it's just going to end up looking a little bit too close to Alan's model, so I'm not going to do that. Hi, Alan, if you happen to catch this. Which I don't even know if he watches, but... so yeah, I'm definitely going into that. I mean, it's not going to be an
Laserforge
entire
Alan, or
month, but... Sorry?
Laserforge Alan, or
No, a friend of mine, local.
no, different Alan? Okay.
All of his stuff was kind of based on cork, rock, and the top of it was kind of painted to make it look like it was all tile and stuff. So it's kind of abstract, and like, it was a really cool looking look. And I kind of thought, that it would look... And I hadn't even really clicked when I was like, oh, I could do that, but I want to do something with the top so it's not just rocks. And I kind of thought of that, and it's like, oh, that makes it even more creepy, because I want it to be creepy. And then I realised, wait, I've seen that before.
Yeah. I will say I love using cork for basing. Just because, it gives you such a good 3-dimensional, easy to mold, like base material.
Yeah. I had thought of doing a similar thing, but with slate. So it's actually jagged rock and so forth. So I don't know. I'm going to toss up ideas, and maybe I can do a couple of videos on some options that people can do. So it's not going to be a full focus month, and I don't know when it's happening. It'll be next year at some point. I have already reached out to the community, and it's been like, looking to get back into it. This is kind of where I come from. I have a lot of stuff that I bought during the point of not playing that never saw the table. So I do have quite a collection that I can go back to. The reason I'm starting with a new force isn't because I need it. It's because if I'm going to start, I want to start with something new. And then go back and make the connections and so on and so forth and work out what I... Because it's easier to start with one of the new ones that's fresh than to try to go through and figure out what I have that I can't use anymore and so on and so on. Most of the range has carried across, but there's a couple of characters that are dead that I can't use anymore.
You're not bitter about that at all, are you?
Collodi being killed is one of the things that turned me away, just as I was about to try and get back into it. Because he's someone that I brought because he'd always been my favourite character. And I brought him and I spent... it's one of the things I'll show off at some point. I actually spent a lot of time on Collodi because he's a puppet that's alive. And I kind of painted him up to make it look like he was made out of jade. And I got really, really proud of it. And had the intention of playing with it and never got around to it.
And then they killed him.
And then they killed him. So, look, in theory, you can play with him in unofficial games. There's rules that they released for him. He just doesn't exist. So I couldn't use him in a tournament sense. But yeah, it's look. Honestly, I award them for, like, truth be told, how many times do we say that, like, nobody ever does anything with their story? It's like that they're actually doing one of the things that I think people should be doing. Nobody ever dies. There's never any consequence. So I can't really complain from that sense because they've done something very brave that nobody else ever does. But yeah, it is what it is. As for the other game, I can confirm that it has shipped. And George still doesn't know what it is, and that's okay.
So you're talking to Liz about it, and so you did get Carnivale?
What?
What?
I did order from TT Combat recently. Why would I tell you that I was buying from TT Combat if it was a TT Combat product?
I don't know.
I do have an order coming from TT Combat. It's full of dropship. And it's full of the... There was a particular ship that I didn't have, the new battlecruiser. I got the farmhouse set. None of this will be shipped for like 6 to 8 weeks, so it'll all arrive at some point. And I bought a couple of small things to... I wanted to get up to the £150 mark so that I can get both of the free minis. And I managed to get there just, so...
Yeah, I am fortunate as I am not getting any white boxes. just Lords of Ragnarok, and well, the pledge manager for the Masters of the Universe game just opened, so
Yeah, I haven't touched that yet. I have to, but I haven't.
Yeah, I will be. I was gonna do the Wild West town just because I don't know why. I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
And the other one I was looking at was the bolstered drop site, just because.
Well, that works for the game that you play.
Well, it works for just about anything, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I still have this problem where, and unfortunately, one of the things I ordered from Daka still has not arrived yet. It's been tempting me more and more to build the Legio Custodi army because, well, I only need 10 minis to have an army.
There's a new one that they've just released too. It's coming in the box set that we didn't talk about. It's on pre-order today.
Yeah,
you should buy the box set.
No.
But I was just trying to 10 things.
Well, yeah, I found like a really good way to do like actual gold.
But then you can be cool like Henry Cavill. You want to be cool like Henry Cavill.
I already knew he did Custodes. He started doing Custodes at the beginning of quarantine. I don't know why everyone's losing their crap now about him playing. It's
because he mentioned it again, and it's the same thing as last time. Every time it gets mentioned, people are like, "Oh my god, he's into this as well. He's like us." And yes, we've known this for a little while. We talked about it on the podcast a little while ago. And every content creator in the world is out there going, hey, just come and play a game. Hey, we'll do it for charity, or like coming up with reasons to try and get him involved. Like he's not one of the world's most busiest people already.
Well, I mean, technically he's not filming Witcher Season 2 right now because that's getting ready to come out, so... Yeah, so as of the 28th of November, my stuff has been sitting in Chicago.
Wait, your stuff for what?
Huh?
Your stuff for what?
The Daka store stuff.
Ah, right, yeah.
The not Emperor and the not Lionel Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in Chicago. They've been in Chicago since the 28th.
Awesome. But otherwise, I think we can skip game talk this week because we've already got to like an hour and 50 minutes or so.
Well, it's only two things though, too.
Oh yeah, good point. Let's go. Yep.
Talk nerdy to me.
All right.
Dropzone Command.
So
Dropzone Command.
Look at the standard tanks.
Let's start over, Bruce, because we were both talking again at the same time twice.
All right, we're looking at the UCM for Dropzone Commander. We're looking at the standard tanks today, and we have two of them. I'm going to start with the Saber tank, which is this cool-looking bugger. I say cool, but I think the other one looks better. He costs you 35 points. He comes in a squad size of 3 to 9. And takes up 2 vehicle slots in your movement dropship thingies. He has a 4-inch move. He's got active countermeasures. He's got armor of 15, damage of 1. He is a tank type, and he's not special. He has an Avenger railgun. Clearly Tony built that. He's got nothing on the move and fire. His arc is front, side, and rear. His full range is infinite. His counted range is 24 inches. He's got 1 shot. He's got an accuracy of 1+. And he's got the weapon it's got energy 10. And it's articulated, which I will need to look up.
My guess is it can like go up and down.
Oh, yes, that would make sense. Yeah, no, that would make sense, yeah. He's also got a Gatling gun. Again, no move and fire. It's a front arc. 36-inch full, 12-inch counted, 2 shots, 3+ accuracy, and it's got an energy of 3. It's fairly straightforward, that one.
The next one is the Katana light tank, which is also 35 points.
And much
Takes up to... It does look really cool. It has a move of 6. The CMSA armor is 14, damage is 1. Type is tank. Has a twin cannon, which has no move fire. Has a front side rear arc. Range of 48 inches. RC...
so
wait.
full and counted.
Yeah. Is 18 inches. 2 shots. Accuracy of 2+. Energy of 9. Nothing special about it. Or a flamethrower, which is no moving fire, front side rear, 6-inch range, 6 shots, ACC of 3+, energy 4. It also has smoke launchers. Instead of making a shooting action, the squad may launch smoke until the end of the round. Weapons targeting the squad and other units within 2 inches of any of the squad suffer a +2 accuracy modifier. This unit may replace its twin cannon for the flamethrower at no cost.
Yeah. So it's one or the other. You can't have both.
Yeah.
Of
I think the
two,
saber.
I actually, you like the saber?
I think the saber tank's the better option. That being said, though, the katana definitely has its place of, launch smoke. I mean, it is a very real tactic of, you fill the area with smoke, you can't see anything to shoot at.
Yeah.
Unless you've actually seen it, it's just like, how does that actually really do anything? It does a lot.
Yeah.
The concept of it is not a silly, mechanic for a game. It does a lot. It can obscure a tank, a bunch of other vehicles. It has its place and purpose. I think the saber tank, though, with that infinite range.
The infinite range and that's it's basically a guaranteed hit on the railgun.
I think, for that same price, I think that can do it. Now, if you're in a very busy terrain board where there's not a lot of line of sights, this tank is going to be seriously hindered. But if you can get it in a position to where you have good fields of fire, this tank's going to work for you for 35 points.
Yeah, big time.
And it's going to work for you really good. The katana, it's going to help you protect resources.
It'll be good against infantry with those flamers.
Yeah, it'll be good against infantry with flamers. It'll be good for protecting your infantry and your infantry transports as you're getting into a building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it ultimately, just, what are you going to use it for?
Yeah, that is the big thing. I kind of suspect that you would probably be taking more of the sabers than you would of the katanas. But I think you'd be silly not to be having both on the table.
Absolutely, yeah. I think
if I was to take the katanas, I would probably be aiming for closer towards the 6 to 9. Like if you had 6 of them, for example, and maybe you had 2 flamers and then everything else with the twin cannons, I think you'd have a nice balance there. I wouldn't quite go 50-50. I would lean towards the twin cannons personally, because I think you'll get more out of them. Especially when the flamethrowers need to be so close as well.
Yeah.
And I'd be using the flamethrowers to obscure everything once, because if you're not close enough for the flamethrowers to do anything, then everything else shoots, and then it uses its smoke launchers instead, so that everything else has trouble seeing their friends, essentially.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this one because I just want to look at it real quick. So the Bear APC, your infantry, transport.
Yep.
It has the same move as this tank, so there's no reason why, for every Bear you don't have a katana to support it to throw smoke and hassle other infantry as you're going to a building to score an objective.
Yeah, true.
So,
in saying that, if you were to, realistically, you would have those in the troop ships and the drop ships anyway.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't drive your Bear across the board.
No, I'm saying, you have a Bear and you have a katana on the same dropship. You drop
see
them
what you're
both at the
saying,
same
yeah.
time. The katana's there to support the bear. The bear drops the troops off. The troops go into the building. Someone else gets near the building. You can flamethrower their troops, or you can launch smoke to protect your bear and katana from someone else's saber.
Yeah, that makes sense. We will
So-
cover the transports at a later stage because I know that that's going to be something that people that haven't played Dropship are still kind of probably looking at this and going, "Why does everything not move so well?" Everything goes in ships and then comes out of the ships. Everything is in rhinos basically, but you get rhinos for your rhinos so that you can rhino while you rhino.
I think there's only one faction, and I'm just gonna look at this real quick because it's so typical of them. Really doesn't need to do a transport setup like that.
Which would be Shaltari. Resistance don't
Because-
sort of.
Yeah, so just as an example here, the base transport for the Shaltari has a move of 9.
Yeah.
On a 4 foot by 4 foot, 9 inches is huge.
True.
So
In saying that, I think that's everything.
I think that's an episode for us.
Yep. So,
We got this.
At the apex of war coming soon.
All right. Couple of things this week. Conquest Game Convention is still coming up. Conquest.as for Sam and Finelli.au. It's from the 15th to the 17th of April next year. Broadside, the official Armada tournament for Mantic. That takes place on the 5th of March. Tickets are £10 and are available on the Mantic Games website. OrcaCon. This is a Moonstone tournament that's taking place on the 8th of January. It takes place in Washington, USA. Some experience is helpful, but it's not necessary. There is also a Bushido tournament that's currently on the GCT website. I seem to have deleted that by mistake. But Blood and Deed is the Grand Master, essentially. So this is your tournament of tournaments. You can not buy tickets because it is sold out. But I am mentioning it because it comes up on the 16th of January. And it's going to be interesting to see what the results are. Because for those maybe looking to buy in, maybe it'll help you influence what you want to buy. It's going to be 32 players over 4 rounds. It's going to be pretty big. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, that's hella big.
Yeah. We will try and cover that after the results are out. Maybe, if we get time. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you to those that support us. Please, join us on YouTube. Help us get to our 1,000 subscriber goal before April next year. You can find us at youtube.com/gettingtabled. If you'd like to find us on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled, or twitter.com/gettingtabled, or instagram.com/gettingtabled. If you are in a situation to support us, we only have a couple of supporters financially. We'd very much appreciate anybody. It's $2 a month. You get early access to almost everything that we host. Patreon.com/gettingtabled. Anything I missed?
Website is gettingtabled.weebly.com.
There we go. George actually did something.
I did a thing. No, I think that's it. That's another episode, so I'm going to do one more thing.
Can you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.